Yeah, sorry, Barrett, you were saying on our next segment.
Well, how about we get on to our first Pokemon of the Week segment,
Oh,
guys? Pokemon
yes,
of the Week.
yes.
We just thought it would be a nice little thing to do a little Pokemon segment. If you want to got any other words on the Pokemon of the Week segment, Alex?
Well, I don't think anyone's going to figure it out on what the Pokemon is this week, personally.
Yeah.
Like, um, obviously each week we're going to try and, well, actually, maybe not each week, maybe each other week we're going to talk about a specific Pokemon. Barrett's got a bunch of notes about it, and he'll go through them all individually, and I might just sit here and eat this Kit Kat bar that my other half gave me, just to sit there in awe, listening to Barrett's talk of this Pokemon. So, what is the Pokemon,
So,
Barrett, of this week? Actually, does anyone in chat want to make a guess? I
Let's
bet
take a
none of you are
guess.
going to get it.
who's going to guess?
Just take a wild guess. Who's going to guess?
You never know.
Is anyone brave enough?
You might be able to see one right now if you're really, really paying attention. But
Someone said Serendipity earlier. Absolutely not.
So
Iron
close.
Crown.
Iron
Oh.
Crown, not quite it. I'm afraid, not quite it. Dedenne.
Not Dedenne.
Ooh.
Obviously, anyone who's listening to this later, if you had any thoughts we had, please leave.
Yeah, leave a comment now to
so-
guess on which is going to be the first Pokemon of the very first episode of the London Corviknights of the Round Table. Let's see if anyone's guessed. Oh, what nerd in the chat with
Oh, there you go.
There you go. It's Corviknight, people. It's Corviknight. Yay! Look at it. Look at our boy go. Anyway, guys, I wonder if I can press this music button and it will play music. Oh, it will. At least that I can hear. At least.
I like
Let's
that.
go. So
I like that.
we've
Can it
got
play music.
Corviknight, guys. Corviknight is the generational 8 bird from the Galar region. It is the first Pokemon that is not a legendary Pokemon that starts as a pure flying type and it becomes a flying and steel type later on. It is possibly the most metal bird in the Pokemon universe, as it is very cool. It's reasonably defensive wall with 98 HP, 105 defense, and 85 special defense. This is supported by the Mirror Armor ability that bounces the Intimidates and other stat drops that it takes right back at its opponents. This is particularly good when someone wants to switch in to weaken one of your partner Pokemon and your Corviknight ends up just bouncing that right back to them. Common movesets usually involve Iron Defense, Body Press, and Leftovers that can stall you out, but you can also see Tailwind support with Brave Bird and Iron Head to pick off those pesky Fluttermane and those Urshifu Rapid Strikes or, whatever you might be seeing. It's normally does, as I say, run Mirror Armor, but it can also run Unnerve to prevent berries as well. That's another tech that we can see. Normally runs Terra Dragon now to resist all of those Fire Water Grass moves that we see a lot, particularly also electric moves as well, because it's also maintains that it has that electric weakness from being a flying type and that fire weakness from being the steel typing. But we have also seen other variants on the Terra typing as well, that being fighting type to give extra damage to those body presses after a couple of iron defenses. Really can sweep through the game. Corviknight, I was going to talk about how much money Corviknight has won its trainers over the time, but I haven't actually seen that statistic. But I did find out, if anyone wants, and I will be involving this in the future, there is actually a website you can go to that finds out the amount of money that every Pokemon has won since Gen 9. So there you go. We'll see if I can find that later. One last
We're
thing.
going to break out those finance records.
Yeah, we'll be getting the tax returns out, people. We also
Tax returns.
we also have the last thing I wanted to mention was that although a lot of recovery moves in Pokemon got nerfed in this generation, Roost being one of those, now only having a maximum of 8 PP, still doesn't mean that Corviknight doesn't see it, because I mean, it's good. It's a good Roost Pokemon. Although, Roosting does take away its flying type there. It does mean it becomes super effective with ground moves. But you have to make that cool. Not everyone's going to make that cool. So I just thought that was just fantastic. So anyway, can we please give it up to the first Pokemon of the week, Corviknight. ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Best bird. Best bird.
Is best bird.
We're not biased.
We are not biased.
We are not biased. Also, just to follow up from what you've just mentioned there, I did go ahead and have a little look to see on the merch side of things what you can get with a Corviknight. Which, of course, you could get this plush. There was quite a few Corviknight plushes at EUIC, but you could also grab this Corviknight plush. I'm doing free advertising for the Pokemon video, I've just realised. You could grab it online for $15.99. There's also oh, never mind. Okay, forget that. There is a version with a taxi, which I believe is $29.99.
Adorable.
So, yeah, basically there's plenty of Corviknight merch. Also, I had a look at, like, cards to see if there's any, like, cool Corviknight cards out there. There's this beauty, which I would love to get my hands on. A full art Corviknight V card, which, of course, is Corviknight, you know, pretty much showing off its taxi capabilities of Galar. Obviously expecting its wing. But I just thought it looked a really nice card and was worth showing off. They don't have it on this site, they're out of stock, but I believe the valuation is anywhere between £8 to £12. I don't know if that's based on rarity or like its usefulness, but it's a very nice card. I thought it was worth watching.
Hey.
Worth watching, worth looking at.
I think it's really cool. I mean, you've got like the full-on like black taxi artwork there. Just looks so cool, and it's the guy hanging out.
It's such a London taxi.
Exactly, and I mean, also, I just can't get over the fact that if you were to involve this in your deck, and you're about to win a game with this move, and you only needed to deal 30 damage, you could say, and now for this finishing move, we're coming in clutch. And then that would be the end of the game.
Sorry, I was just reading a comment. Reading notability is the boost of the Corviknight V-Star. I can't see it being very usable. Okay, right, so yeah, it's based on looks.
I mean, it looks fantastic. It just looks...
It's a great card.
Let's go.
I'll tell you what we should do. Just to see if anyone has got any opinion. I'm going to eat half of this Kit Kat. And by the time I finish eating this half of this Kit Kat, Barrett will tell you what the Pokemon of the week is. So if you haven't got a clue on what the Pokemon of the week is, don't worry. You have half a Kit Kat to do it.
Ready, guys? Okay? All right. So
time starts now.
Hello and welcome to today's Pokemon of the week, guys. We have a great one for you. We've mentioned it a few times already today, and it is Amoonguss. Amoonguss is the mushroom Pokemon from from Gen 5. Grass and poison type Pokemon, Amoonguss isn't unique in its typing as it is in its utility. A VCG staple, Amoonguss has made over $335,000 US. That's not a poor mushroom. It's also got over 180 regional top 8s and at least 30 wins, according to LimitlessVGC.com. Amoonguss has access to 2 abilities, Effect Spore and the much more popular Regenerator. Regenerator is an incredible ability that allows users to regain 30% of its HP upon the switching out, which makes it frustrating to remove from your opponent's team. What's more, Amoonguss has a very respectable HP stat of 114, backed up by solid defense and special defense of 70 and 80 respectively. This makes Amoonguss even more difficult to deal with, but there's even more with moves like Spore, Pollen Puff, and Rage Powder for redirection, recovery, and interference. Amoonguss really is the epitome of what you might call a control aspect of a team in VGC. With a very slow speed stat of 30, Amoonguss often gets teched onto teams as a trick room answer, either acting as a deterrent to setting it up, or by simply preventing it by putting them to sleep. And there he is now, my squidgy boy. As a grass type...
As soon as you were going through it, I was like, oh wait, hang on.
There's no
a
visual.
Really funny plush of it.
The best visual ever. The plush of Amoonguss, guys, in all of its glory. As a grass type, it's immune to powder moves like Spore and Rage Powder, meaning it is not also an answer, but also a problem to itself. Because of this, other grass types inherently become more valuable. So they're as they're the only Pokemon that don't have to worry about Amoonguses. But that can be changed, as some Amoongus have now started to run Sludge Bomb as an offensive move, just to make sure that it can pick up some KOs on those grass types trying to counter it. So there really is no escape from the power that is Amoongus. Amoongus' best friends are Incineroar and insert water type here. Wolfclick recently won the Orlando Regional with an Amoongus on his team, putting it in more work than some people ever thought an Amoongus was ever capable of. And there you have it, guys, our Pokemon of the week, Amoongus.
Insert water type here. Amazing.
It's true.
So calmly as well. Just like add insert water type here.
Well, it's just it doesn't.
It's so true.
It doesn't matter.
It's so true.
It's just whatever the one is at the time.
Literally, it's whoever's doing well at that time.
Yeah.
Is the one. Like literally, you could put any of these water types in.
Anyone.
Anyone will do.
It'd be fine because it's not gonna get hit. It's gonna get redirected away from, and it just does what it needs to do.
Oh my! Honestly, Amoongus, stop it.
Yeah. I think I got everything.
I actually did want to just add to. You have the Pokemon of the week.
Yes, I have Pokemon.
We had a prediction earlier as to who it would be, and it was Luxray. Are they right? Is the question, or are they wrong?
Right. Well, guys, I can tell you right now that I thought we would only be fair to give this champion its time in the light. That's right. Today, the Pokemon of the week is Xerneas. I know. Oh, would you look at that?
That is literally the US store only.
That's amazing.
Like for the UK store, we have we literally have like sold out pins, and that's it.
So Xerneas has won over 28 regional events, has become top 8 in 128 regional events, 3 international championship wins, but no world championships. Xerneas is a fairy-type legendary Pokemon from Gen 6. The first legendary type, the legendary fairy-type Pokemon, not first legendary type Pokemon. That doesn't exist yet. Xerneas has access to the move Geomancy, which raises the user's special attack, special defense, and speed by 2 stages the turn after the move has been used, making it a 2-turn move that charges on the first turn. This has been very popular within VGC, as it can be affected by the Power Herb item, meaning that Xerneas can get a once per game free setup move that allows it to become so strong that it can sweep the game with relative ease. Plus 2, 252 plus special attack fairy aura Xerneas Moonblast versus 252 HP, 252 plus special defense stack attacker is a guaranteed 2-hit KO. Because of this, Xerneas works really well with redirection Pokemon like Amoongus, who can use Rage Powder to redirect any Steel-type moves, allowing Xerneas to get its boost, while also acting as a Trick Room deterrent after it gets their speed boost as well. Xerneas is one of the only box-art legendary Pokemon that's not currently featured in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which, if you hadn't already noticed, wasn't on the list. Some believe that this may have been because Game Freak had finally decided to take equity into mind and realised that Xerneas might actually just be too broken for this generation, and within the format right now. But this has changed after the next Pokemon game, Pokemon Legends ZA, was announced, being based in the region of Xerneas' homeland. So, what could be the future for Xerneas? Could it become even more broken than we already think it is before? Well, hopefully we'll find out soon. And that, guys, is the Pokemon of the Week, Xerneas.
Just want to quickly add there, like in terms of could Xerneas get more disgusting? I think it's very possible that it could. If we're going for this power creep sort of ideology that we've had for the past couple of gens, I think it's very possible we could see a Xerneas that you know gets back to glory and could finally win that world championship. Yeah, but Primal Xerneas, absolutely not.
You know what?
Don't you dare! Don't you dare!
You know, now that we're talking about Xerneas and, you know, like Gen 6 Pokemon in general,
I believe it's now time for Barrett to talk about his Pokemon of the week. What is this week's Pokemon of the week?
Well, guys, today the Pokemon of the week is Tyranitar. I know you guys probably thought it was going to be regular Decidueye, but it's not. It's Tyranitar. We were talking about it a little bit earlier. Love this guy. Tyranitar is the Rock and Dark type pseudo-legendary Pokemon from Gen 2. Tyranitar became a world champion in 2012, being piloted by Ray Rizzo. Tyranitar has been popular in VGC since the beginning, acting as a strong offensive Dark and Rock type with access to very good coverage moves to round out a team. With 100 HP, special defense, and 110 defense. Tyranitar is a good example of a bulky Pokemon with stat distributions done right. With a great ability in Sandstream to round it out, it's okay bulk with the special defense increase that comes with rock types in the sand. Not only can Tyranitar use its sand-setting ability to support other members of its team, it's also been used as a way of overwriting your opponent's weather in order to disrupt their strategies. Some of Tyranitar's most popular partners can be Excadrill and Cresselia, but more recently have been joining Pokemon like Lycanroc and Farigiraf for more reliable speed control. We did see at the beginning of the stream, been seeing Tyranitar being used as a counter for Calyrex Shadow Rider. It's also a counter for Calyrex Ice Rider as well. It's just got fantastic usage across the board. Stats to keep it timeless. There we go, guys. Tyranitar is our Pokemon of the week. Can we give it up for Tyranitar?
Thank you, Tyranitar.
And look at that. Look at that cutie.
Look, honestly, it's a cutie. I think I might need to purchase it. I'm not gonna lie. For only $9.99. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like, Tyranitar, honestly, is a little surprising, isn't it, that Tyranitar actually is only a one-time champ. I think it's had numerous opportunities, though, to become different champions, but...
It's Tyranitar is one of those Pokemon where it is a bit it is still really good Pokemon, but, like, it's a really solid B tier that keeps coming back, like Umbreon. A lot of Gen 2 Pokemon are like that. They're just, like, really good. They're not quite good enough to be, like, great, but you throw them on a team and they'll do pretty good sometimes. Like,
right.
Yeah. Right,
Barrett. It is that time where I ask you, as we do each week, what is your Pokemon of the week?
So, guys, this week's Pokemon of the week is Terapagos. I know. You might have wondered what it was going to be. You know, could it have been some of the other Pokemon, maybe Miraidon? But no, this time I wanted to focus on Terapagos for a few reasons. Okay, so let's just jump straight into it. Terapagos is the newest restricted legendary Pokemon from the Indigo Disc DLC. It debuted this generation, and it is the newest restricted legendary that we have available. Terapagos is the first normal type restricted Pokemon, meaning it has a unique type matchup to every other restricted Pokemon. Terapagos continues this unique trend by having 3 different forms. In its base form, Terapagos serves as something funny for your opponent to look at during team preview. Terapagos then transforms into its Terrestrial form upon switching in, which gives it the ability Terra Shell, allowing Terapagos to take a hit from full HP with not very effective damage, or half damage to be exact. With this ability, and some very respectable stats in bulk, players initially decided to build teams around protecting Terapagos from damage with a combination of screens, supportive healing, Intimidate cycling, and redirection. Terapagos was able to stack up several Calm Mind boosts before terrestrializing into its stellar form and sweeping in the late game. This strategy worked really well into a lot of common special attacking restricted Pokemon, Calyrex Shadow namely, but struggled into other common team compositions, especially since it almost wants to be the terrestrializer candidate for every match. With this in mind, players have now adapted the teams to be more focused on targeting down Terapagos' counters quickly at the beginning of the game. This works particularly well with Stellar Terrestrial ability, removing all of the weather and terrain from the field, making it a lot easier for its partners to remove some of the things that require the support of those field effects. An interesting observation about Terapagos and normal types is that in general, they've always been considered to be quite diverse, usually with a lot of access to coverage moves. And although Terapagos isn't currently running a lot of diversity, its role on a team has seen quite unique development in such a small amount of time. So it only really goes to show what we might be seeing from Terapagos in the future. So there we go, guys. Pokemon of the week, Terapagos.
Just want to point out as well, like, I didn't actually realize they've already got plushes out for it.
Whoa, look at those!
I'm not paying 40 quid.
They haven't got the big one.
No, they haven't got the big one. Oh my god, that big one. Oh my lord, like, trying to fit that somewhere.
The Pokemon.
Oh.
Well, yeah, the Pokemon of the week, guys. We decided to go with something that we noticed in a tour recently. Pokemon of the week this week is Rhyperior. Here we go.
Woo!
Rhyperior. So today, we noticed Rhyperior is coming up a little bit, in a couple of results. We noticed it might be having a little bit of a place right now, but it's had its place before. I don't know too much about the origins of its debut in VGC, but we happen to just have somebody here who does know a little bit about something. Jim, would you like to tell us a little bit about Rhyperior in Gen 5?
Absolutely. So Rhyperior has always been an interesting Pokemon. So it's an insanely bulky, very slow, very powerful, really kind of all-round decent Trick Room Pokemon with access to moves like Earthquake and Rock Slide. Just being able to dish out damage onto Trick Room has always been good. It has a unique ability, which was a basis of quite a few other abilities coming forward, which is a Solid Rock. Probably the best thing about it is its Solid Rock, which for those of you who don't know, halves all super effective moves used on it. While it has that massive glaring weakness to water and grass, back in old days it would run things like Passion Berry and Rindo Berry and be able to basically tank any water or grass hit quite happily. It just makes it a neutral hit. It is an interesting line because both Rhyperior and Rhydon have seen successful play. Actually, Rhydon hitting top 8 at Worlds, I think probably 2012, 2013. Lightning Rod, just very useful ability, especially during Thunderous era. But Rhyperior is a concept with with Terra is really interesting. Because the fact that one of the glaring weaknesses with Terra is that if you Terra, you're then weak to other moves. For example, let's say you're a Rhyperior, you Terra Steel, maybe because you want to blank out some grass attacks. You're still weak to ground, or maybe you choose maybe you choose grass, blanks out all of its weaknesses. Then you're weak to flying, but it's still taking neutral damage from it. And if you can swap it to a type with only one weakness, it effectively has no weaknesses. So using it in a whole variety of different ways in that regard with the Gen 9 is a very interesting concept, especially because it's base 45 speed, I think.
I have it in my notes actually. With a
base 40.
It's base speed 45. Makes it a good Trick Room sweeper. It does underspeed a lot of things. The only things it doesn't really underspeed are things like Torkoal and Amoonguss, which I don't think it really has to worry about too much, especially with Terra Grass as well.
Exactly.
Worry about those guys. And even a well-placed high horsepower probably do pretty significant damage to a Amoonguss anyway, so there we go.
Yeah, we're probably looking at 50%, 40%, maybe 60% on a especially bulky Amoonguss, but yeah, it's an interesting one. What was the team that it was used on?
So the team that we saw with it recently was actually a really interesting one from a Toronto mid-season showdown. It was let me find it here quickly. It had Koraidon, Raging Bolt, Fluttermane, Whimsicott, and the Hisuian Typhlosion on there as well, which, to be fair, Sun, Tailwind, the team relatively speaks for itself. You've got the Fire type to take advantage of the Sun, you've got your Photosynthesis Mons, your Speed Control, but then you've got that just Rhyperior, which actually does work quite well with the Sun team, but it's not what I would originally initially go to.
No, that's quite an interesting version, but maybe it's a really good check to Miraidon, maybe? What was it running Assault Vest?
I think I don't know what the item was, but it's a good counter to Miraidon, but also into Calyrex Ice, because just being able to just tank Glacial Lance really easily and get it back, and also have the option of maybe Terra Grass to make sure that it has an option into some other things as well. I think it can actually do some good damage there.
Oh, absolutely. I think Rock Slide's definitely picking up 2 HKO into Ice Rider with your max attack. It comes under this Venn diagram of really niche Pokemon that actually have a decent spot in a very select few teams, in the same way that Latios and Moltres Galar do in recent teams. And if there's a specific niche for it and it works, then absolutely run it. And it's the same vein of thought that made Pachirisu win Worlds and Hitmontop win in 2016. Because if there's something very specific that you're going for, then 100% it's worth having it if it's a glaring weakness. And it overlaps with everything else so well in that lot that I'm not surprised it ended up putting up a decent finish in an MSS.
Yeah. You know, it might have had some results at some point, but its best season so far has been the VGC 2020 season. Unfortunately, did get cut short, but did do ridiculously well, all things considered. I mean, considering it had only a short time to really do something within the Dynamax format and an official format, it was able to set up Sand to get rid of its own special defense weaknesses, because that's the only stat that it really is lacking in. It had Solid Rock, it had Weakness Policy, it had partners like Togekiss and Dragapult to lay down offensive pressure. You could even get speed boosts on a Rhyperior if you set it next to an Airstream Pokemon. And then just, you know, all of the things that Dynamax gave it really lumped it together to be effectively probably one of the best Pokemon of that format. And then we just never really got to see it go anywhere. Once the 2020 season ended, unfortunately, so did Rhyperia's reign. But, you know, after we've been seeing this and considering a couple of things, you know, we might end up seeing Rhyperia do some more in the future. So there we go.
Absolutely. And one quick note, one of the drivers on Pokemon Showdown, a friend of mine, Evian, has been using Rhyperia religiously, and she's a massive fan of it. And she managed to, I think she must have got top 500 at one point on the 2022 ladder using Rhyperia and no restricted, which is kind of an interesting thing by itself. But it's definitely not a Pokemon to be sniffed at. Gen 4 released some absolutely fantastic Pokemon that I think often get swept under the rug, especially in like the ground type category, because Garchomp has been a staple of VGC since 2006. You know, Mamoswine has won Worlds and is still in a quite good place. It's an offensive ice type that has some good bulk and a relatively mid speed, so it can do good by itself. You also got Rhyperia, and you know, even Torterra did well in 2006 at one point, if I remember.
I think then we could just go ahead and talk about this week's Pokemon of the Week.
Oh, okay,
Barrett,
guys.
what is this week's Pokemon of the Week?
Well, guys, I mean, it's got speed control, it's got weather ball. We're seeing it come up in the meta right now. It's big and blue. It's Latios, everyone. That's right. All right, guys. This Pokemon of the Week this week is Latios.
Whoa. Hang on.
Yeah, what?
We agreed Pelipper.
Oh my God. Oh, do you know what? Actually, I'm really sorry. What did I say?
You said Latios.
Did I say Latios?
Did you do that on purpose?
No, seriously.
Is it because you hate Pelipper?
No, guys. I was. If you were in the pre-show, you would have been saying. I was saying loads of really lovely stuff about Pelipper. I can back me up in the chat on that one, right? I was talking. No, sorry, guys. The Pokemon of the Week is Pelipper. That's right, Pelipper. Yeah. So. Anyway, Pelipper is a flying and water-type Pokemon introduced in Gen 3. In Generation 5, though, Pelipper got access to the hidden ability Drizzle, which causes the weather to be changed to rain for 5 turns upon switching in. As soon as it got access to this incredible ability, Pelipper began seeing usage on rain teams, acting as a weather setter that also gets access to some interesting utility. When it comes to its stats, Pelipper isn't exactly shining in any department. With 100 defense, Pelipper looks like it could be quite bulky, but with only 60 HP and 70 special defense, it doesn't take much advantage of that defense. This is where Pelipper's utility comes in. Being a flying type with the Drizzle ability, Pelipper having access to the move Hurricane means it gets a 100% accurate stab flying move that can confuse the target, making it one of the only Pokemon that really gets to benefit from this move, which actually gives it quite a lot of value. One of the only Pokemon that gets such a great flying stab move, and they are very difficult to come by in VGC, let alone one with so many benefits like Hurricane. Pelipper also gets access to Tailwind, making it a viable speed control option on any teams that require a water type as well. With middling speed itself, Pelipper can be trained to outspeed certain Pokemon under Tailwind, but also it could be quite bulky to make sure it gets that Tailwind up for its team. It also gets access to Icy Wind for further speed control. Pelipper's role on a team doesn't stop there. It also gets access to Wide Guard, a strong defensive tool that prevents your opponent from using spread moves. This is particularly strong in a metagame with a lot of high power spread moves, like right now. Wide Guard can also be used to protect itself from spread moves from their ally that would normally damage them, like Explosion and Discharge. With the combination of its ability, speed control options, typing with only 2 weaknesses and an immunity, and with good move options, Pelipper is now being seen as an effective tool to shut down enemy weather while also assisting other members of the team defensively with rain and wide guard support. It could be seen assisting the likes of Calyrex Ice Rider and Zamazenta, as well as being thrown into some teams just to give them extra options to certain matchups, for example, threatening their opposing Amoonguss. We've even seen Life Orb being given to some Pelipper just so that the players have that extra special attacking option, sometimes running Muddy Water for an extra water damage, especially in the rain, and with the possibility of an accuracy drop just always helps you out there. So, there we have it. Pelipper, is it the best bird? Will we see it being used in future formats? Or have we already seen the limit of what Pelipper can do? There we go.
I leave you to decide.
There we go.
I didn't realise there's quite a few merch for Pelipper.
Really?
This is the sitting cutie of Pelipper, like quite box standard, like, you know, good old bird. I do like the fact that they added this photo where it looks like Pelipper is stuck looking at a cube, which I did kind of giggle at. But
do they think it looks big in the photo? We should put something there.
But there's like a mystery dungeon plush version as well, which honestly can't tell the difference. It's just slightly bigger.
What's the eyes? The eyes are kind of creepy.
There's also a pin, but also there's these really cool like summer shirts as well. This one particularly took my fancy. Ditto and Pelipper, this purple shirt where you can see like, yeah, it's literally just Ditto and Pelipper in a Hawaiian themed shirt.
That's quite cute.
I'm not paying £40 for it though. Right, so yeah, right. I need to do this properly now. Barrett, what is your Pokemon of the week?
Well, guys, today's Pokemon of the week is Chandelure. First of all, before I get into like, the proper stuff, the real juice, that shiny respect and that plushy respect. Look at those cuties. Chandelure is a ghost and fire-type Pokemon that originated in the Unova region. Being introduced just as VGC was starting to see its first rise, Chandelure quickly became a staple in the format, being used in 2 of the top 8 teams in that year. It included winning the Spanish Nationals, not Internationals, the Spanish Nationals, on a team piloted by Guillermo Castita Diaz, as well as hitting 3rd in that year's World Championships. Jumping forward to 2020, it seems like Chandelure is another one of those lost potential champions of that year, being seen on at least 30 teams that year before the season ended early. The moveset choice was clear. Heatwave, Shadow Ball to do good stab damage with those 2 great offensive types and fantastic 145 special attack, while also running Trick Room and Imprison to shut down your opponents going for their own Trick Room strategy. As Imprison was a great tech to shut down opponents that were running Special Arcanine, running Heatwave, and special attacking Dragapult. Rotom Heat and Gengar were also very popular, which could run Heatwave and Shadow Ball. With 80 speed, Chandelure just about misses out being slow enough to work as the Trick Room Sweeper in that format, although the existence of Max Airstream boost from Pokemon like Togekiss made Trick Room support much more of a viable option, while also meaning it had a good chance to get off an Imprison on turn 1 if needed. Although Chandelure's HP is quite low, only a base 60, it's actually got quite a lot of utility as a defensive Pokemon by taking advantage of its type to provide good switch-ins to normal, fire, grass, and fairy moves, even activating Flash Fire ability if it's hit by a fire move, making it a brilliant Dynamax candidate the next turn, being able to get off a massive boosted Max Flare with the double HP pool to compensate for that 60 base HP. In the current VGC meta, we have seen Chandelure become a bit of a counter to Zamazenta teams, but with fire moves to threaten Zamazenta, with its high special attack, and with ghost typing to keep it safe from boosted body presses, still being able to run Trick Room is pretty good as well, and with it being a ghost type not being able to be faked out, Chandelure hasn't seen its finish in VGC just yet.
That was an abrupt finish.
Sorry, yeah.
It's all right. Yeah, honestly, I'm so glad I got a Chandelure plush because, like, oh my god, it's so cute. Like, yeah, I was just going to mention what you just said there about the fact, Chandelure, especially during LA, which we could talk about right now. Actually, we can talk about LA now. Chandelure surprised me. Actually,
I was wearing my amazing London Corviknights hoodie
On all stream yesterday, it looks sick. Honestly, I've never looked so fly. And you can get one as well. If
You can get one. There is a shop section on the Discord, which is exclusive to our Discord members. So be on the lookout for that if you want to pick one up yourself. It is that time of the show. Barrett, what is your Pokemon of the week?
Okay, guys. Pokemon of the week is Overquill. But before we can talk about Overquill, there's a different Pokemon that we might have to talk about first. And that is Quillfish. Quillfish is a Pokemon introduced in Gen 2, being another water poison type that never really got a chance to show us anything, even after being given 2 great abilities later on in Swift Swim and Intimidate. With mediocre stats, it just misses out on being useful enough to have a niche in any format that it's been used in up until recently, when more recent development changed the way players looked at Quillfish. With the release of Legends Arceus, Quillfish received a regional form. This new form was a dark and poison type, but it still shared the same great abilities it had before. This gave it a bit more use as a dark and poison type, a good coverage types that work well on a team, plus having Swift Swim as a non-water type Pokemon allow for rain teams to have some more type diversity. However, without any changes to its stats, Quillfish needed a bit more time before we could see competitive use, which it did, along with the introduction of Hisuian Quillfish was its evolution, Overquill. But wait, Legends Arceus isn't a competitive game. Those forms weren't available in Scarlet and Violet yet. Does that mean that Quillfish might get access to the Eviolite item to boost its defenses? After all, with middling defenses and HP like that, Eviolite and Intimidate might combine with the water and poison typing to make it a formidable tool on any team, but it didn't. Unfortunately, that's not how it works, and it didn't get access to it, but it didn't stop Parker Simmons last year in the Milwaukee Regionals. Unfortunately, we don't have any information on that, but if you do know how he played the Quillfish in that team last year, please let me know. But back to Overquill, the real Pokemon of the week. Overquill, being quite a new Pokemon, that hasn't seen too much competitive use yet, but with the same typings and abilities as its previous evolution, and with substantial increases in some of its stats, like the increase in bulk, and with 20 more points in attack, bringing it to a 115. Not the best, but it's okay with the Pokemon with 2 great abilities to work with. During this year's North American International Championships, we saw Overquill manage to reach top 8 on a team piloted by Henry Rich, using the Swift Swim ability on a team with Kyogre to threaten massive damage into a lot of popular threats in the current meta, like Rillaboom, Fluttermane, Clefairy, and both Calyrex forms. So there we have it. Overquill might be a new Pokemon with a weirdly, surprisingly long and empty history, but we'll see how things will shape up for it in the future.
Definitely think Overquill has potential going forward. It'll be interesting to see how Overquill does go, because obviously if someone got it into top 8 and NEIC, spoilers, I think it could do. Also, can we just appreciate the actual city cutie of Quillfish, because it's ridiculous.
That's so cute, I love it.
Like, also what I find hilarious is the photo of this they did a photo shoot and this Quillfish is just sitting on this log. This is like one of my favorite images. It's like, I want this, I want to get this city cutie now just for this.
Can you please share, just copy paste that into Discord? I need to use this for meme purposes.
I am doing that right now. I will feed you, Barrett. You have been fed.
We will have memes.
We will have memes.
We will eat well tonight.
We are eating well, boys.
We will eat that fugu.
But yes, like, honestly, I love it. I love the fact this little Quillfish gets a little photo shoot. Also, this, I just forgot there's this other one where he's just sitting on like the side on the sand.
Oh my god!
I'll send you this one as well because
Why have I never seen these images? Like,
I
no way these haven't circulated online already.
I don't know why this has been dormant for so long, but we must unleash the Quillfish. It's been dormant. And you can pick one up yourself for only £10. There you go.
God. I might get one now.
I might get one. But before we do all that, we need to figure out, or, well, I need to figure out who this Pokemon of the week will be. So, Barrett, what is your Pokemon of the week?
Okay, guys, the Pokemon of this week is Whimsicott. That's right. Whimsicott is a grass and fairy type Pokemon introduced in Generation 5 with the Prankster ability and access to a wide array of support moves to take advantage of. Whimsicott has found to be a valuable member of many teams in almost any metagame that it's available in. Because of this, Whimsicott is currently number 11 on the in-game ladder usage stats and has won over
$69,000 for players over the years. Nice. Being a grass fairy type, Whimsicott often been able to slot itself into the fire, water, and grass cores we like to see a lot of to provide support with moves like Encore, Taunt, Fake Tears, while also getting access to some of the best speed control options in the game, being Tailwind, Trick Room, Cotton Spore, and Stun Spore. As a Pokemon with only 480 base stat total, it might be difficult to see how Whimsicott can really manage to get anything done, which is a fair assumption with only a base HP stat of 60. Because of this, Whimsicott is often seen using the Focus Sash item, allowing it to get off a Tailwind and hopefully stick around for the later game to provide more support or set up another Tailwind. Although it's often recently been seen with other items such as Covert Cloak. But why would you use Whimsicott over another prankster Pokemon like Tornadus? Well, Whimsicott has the niche of being the fastest prankster Pokemon in the game, with a speed stat of 116, meaning that in a game full of prankster Pokemon, Whimsicott having the speed advantage can really help it stand out. This means it'll be able to get up Tailwind before an opponent, but more importantly, prevent the setup of Tailwind from your opponent with fast Taunt and Encore to shut down your opponent's other speed control options as well. With such good utility and move options, players have used Whimsicott in a variety of different ways. One of these options is for Whimsicott to be positioned next to a Pokemon like Terrakion, to use Beat Up and other supporting moves to increase Terrakion's damage by activating Justify with the Beat Up move, taking advantage of Whimsicott's naturally high base speed in an unexpected way. Another notable strategy took place during Generation 8 when Whimsicott would utilise the eject button and the move Switcheroo to give their opponent the eject button and then have their allied Pokemon hit them with a move to activate and eject their valuable Dynamax Pokemon, therefore wasting the entire effect for the remainder of the battle. In this generation, we've seen it come mainly on teams with Miraidon in order to provide speed control and shut down enemy protects and other speed control options with Encore. One of the most notable uses this season was from Rajan Ball, who won the 2024 Indianapolis Regional Championships with this exact combo, skyrocketing Miraidon and Whimsicott up the usage stats and back into the minds of top players looking to find a Pokemon to use for their next big tournament win. So that's Whimsicott, the Peggy Mitchell of Pokemon, who says, "Get out of my match," and has more charm than anyone else could ever.
Absolutely love that. Just like, get out of my match.
It says get out of my match.
That's proper Peggy Mitchell right there. I'm just saying, like, I appreciate the reference. Unfortunately, the City Cutie of Whimsicott is very basic. There isn't any funny photo of it sitting by a river or something like the Crawfish was. It does look like the back of a Starmie is just stuck to the back of the Whimsicott.
It's also notably definitely not sitting. It has its...
Yeah, the
its
cotton
feet...
is preventing it from sitting.
But in that picture, the side profile, its feeties are on the floor. So that's
So what is it, Pokemon? I mean, it looks like, yeah, it literally looks like the back of a Starmie.
It actually is just the back of a Starmie.
Isn't it? I have a Starmie.
That is actually just the Starmie.
Hang on, I have a Starmie right here. We can prove it. So there's the back of the Whimsicott, and there is the back of a Starmie. Tell me the difference. Tell me the difference. There isn't any, is there?
That's ridiculous.
There is no difference. You cannot tell me there is a difference.
You know what? The bottom point on the outer star, it has been squished down. That's the bit that's making it sit.
What is your Pokemon of the week?
Okay, guys. Well, today the Pokemon of the week is
You're right.
let me just get the doc. It's right here somewhere. Give me 1 second, and I will. Can't quite seem to find. Okay, yeah, cool. Regigigas. Yeah, Regigigas. Yes, Regigigas is the normal type Pokemon, legendary type Pokemon discovered in the Sinnoh region.
Hang on, Barrett. I feel like you're struggling.
Yeah.
I've got something that might help you. Hang on.
Oh, is it? Okay. Sorry, guys. 1 sec. I'll probably edit this. Or something.
I'm sorry. It's just you seem like you're struggling a little bit, so I don't know if I put up some neutralizing gas.
Oh, is it now? Oh, look at him!
Right.
Oh, yeah, cool, man. Yeah.
Does that help you out?
Better. Yeah, cool, man. So Regigigas is the normal type legendary Pokemon discovered in the Sinnoh region. In spite of this, Regigigas is the 4th member of the Regi group founded in the Hoenn region. With the base stat total so high it rivals restricted legends, surely Regigigas is a force to be reckoned with. Base 160 attack is some of the highest of any Pokemon without any stats wasted in any of his other base stats. Surely Regigigas is one of the best Pokemon in the game, right? No, but kinda. As everyone knows, Regigigas' only ability is Slow Start, which halves the owner's attack and speed for the 5 turns upon entering the field. That's right, this ability resets when switching out. Because of this, Regigigas didn't see much usage in early VGC. However, it did see some use as a bulky support mon in 2018, utilising moves like Guard, Icy Wind, Knockoff, and Toxic. But things all changed for Regigigas when Generation 8 came along and introduced its 2 best friends, Wheezing and Dynamax. During Generation 8, Wheezing and its new Galarian counterpart gained access to the brand new Neutralizing Gas ability, which rendered almost all abilities inactive while it was on the field. As soon as Neutralizing Gas was added to the game, players instantly recognised the synergy that it had with Regigigas, being able to turn off Slow Start and allow for Regigigas to begin the battle at full potential. As if that wasn't enough, with the introduction of Dynamax, the additional effects of max moves, Regigigas was able to always Dynamax turn 1 and start laying down powerful max strikes to take out their opponent with stab high base damage and also lower their allies' speed in the process. This could allow for a well-trained Wheezing to get off an important support move like a Will-O-Wisp before their opponent, thanks to the newly adjusted dynamic speed. With this in mind, it isn't surprising to see Regigigas finding some usage on the in-game ladder, as well as hitting second place during Players' Cup 2. With Dynamax now a thing of the past, is Regigigas done for? Well, kinda. With the passive buff that Dynamax provided gone now, Regigigas has struggled to find its place in the meta, but still found some use with its old utility support set. After all, being a normal type with access to Wide Guard is great, especially with that kind of bulk. It just isn't taking the care as it used to be. Probably because Neutralizing Gas tends to negatively affect your own party a little bit more now that Dynamax isn't there to be such an overwhelming presence. With the introduction of the ability shield, still hasn't really helped with Wheezing get onto the teams as much, so Regigigas has struggled to being added in as well. So there we have it, Regigigas. Some might say he's a false legend, but we remember how legendary it's been. And how it also might be the worst.
Very well put. I love the comments here where it's Kai just screaming buff it immediately.
Buff it immediately.
You're really, really right in the fact that, you know, Regigigas Generation 8, I mean, we all remember the Players' Cup shenanigans with Regigigas. We want, you know, slow start to turn into fast start.
Fast start where it's just in the sprinter's position.
Like, get him in the sprinter's position. But also, lovely little cameo by coughing. So, for people who don't know, the reason why we have these segments is because Barrett, you know, once a week ponders to himself about certain Pokemon, and he just feels as though he needs to tell us, which I'm not going to stop him. On this podcast, we're in this together. So I'm going to ask Barrett very politely right now, which Pokemon have you been thinking about this week, Barrett? What subject? What is your...
Okay, guys. The Pokemon of the week is... Volcarona. Volcarona is a bug and fire type Pokemon that debuted in Generation 5. Having existed since the beginning of VGC, Volcarona has a decorated VGC career that has players still going back to it after all these years of power creep. So what does Volcarona have going for it that makes it stand out after so long? With a fantastic 135 special attack, it's no wonder Volcarona has seen some usage. Coupled with its all-important 100 base speed, meaning it competes with the other fast fire-type Pokemon like Charizard and Entei, while also outspeeding other important threats like Arcanine and Hydreigon. On the surface, Bug and Fire typing might not sound like a good combination, with Bug having a lot of common weaknesses, but the Fire typing actually balances out some of those weaknesses, leaving it with just 3 weaknesses to Water, Flying, and a 4 times weakness to Rock. In early generations of Pokemon, good Flying, Water, and Rock moves were incredibly difficult to come by, meaning Volcarona didn't have much to stop it from setting up a Quiver Dance in order to sweep the game. This was so threatening that Tyranitar became a good way to handle it with a combination of Rock Slide and Sand Chip. However, sets adapted to make sure that it could handle anything that got thrown at it. It could be Lumberry to handle with status conditions, or Fire Gem to make sure that that first boosted Heat Wave does all the damage needed. Full out offense isn't the only thing Volcarona has been used for. With a combination of the moves Rage Powder and Flame Body, Volcarona can assist his partners by redirecting opponents' moves away and also threatening to burn physical attackers in the process. This support set still sees some usage in certain formats, particularly being positioned next to strong Pokemon like Xerneas to threaten Pokemon like Mega Kangaskhan or Urshifu. With so many options to pick from, multiple impressive results going up and down the competitive scene, Volcarona looks like it's going to stick around for much longer to come.
Just want to point out some really nice things that I found on the Pokemon Center while looking at, because I have a Volcarona plush. I don't know where it's gone. It's on the display somewhere. I'll have to try and find it. Maybe next week we can show it. But there's some really nice items on the Pokemon Center. There's this nice sleeves of Frostmoth and Volcarona. But there's also a really lovely playmat where half of it is Frostmoth and the other half is Volcarona. Honestly, buy that just to lean my arms on.
I have a fun fact. Yes, so the first ever VGC team I used, like in back in Spikemuth, actually featured a Life Orb Volcarona.
Oh, yes, I remember. Yes, because I remember you telling me in stream once, because I was battling someone else, and you were like, okay, but what about Life Orb Volcarona? And I was like, hello?
Yep. Yeah, so that team was super cool. Back in Spikemuth, we didn't have like Dynamax, etc., so it was really cool to like experiment with no legendaries. So I tried a team that my friend made, which was a Volcarona Life Orb with Quiver Dance set, with Heatwave Buckbuzz, and also had Scarf Dracofish with Talonflame, Registeel, Regieleki, and Rillaboom, which was very cool team that I first played VGC with.
Sounds right.
Once again, Barrett, thank you very much for choosing Volcarona this week. Next week, find out which Pokemon has dominated Barrett's thoughts. That's what I think it should be just classed as, is just what Pokemon has dominated Barrett's mind.
How much money has he made?
To be fair, like, I always thought if we actually had the money, I would absolutely love to have a video of you, like, in old Victorian garb, under a tree with, like, a quill and a piece of paper, pondering about which Pokemon to think about, to write a poem about this week or something.
In my mind, the show has like loads of cutaway scenes and we're on set and stuff, and that is like the Pokemon of the Week cutaway is like me on top of a hill writing it, being like, and today the Pokemon of the Week is, and then it just comes up in like nice calligraphy writing.
Yes.
Volcarona.
Yeah, Volcarona.
Dear Iron Mac 404, while I was reflecting on the fine work of all these Pokemon, I write to you today these ponderings, while reflecting and pontificating on what the day had brung. I find myself here once again. On this beautiful day, what it is that has plagued my mind, that I have been reflecting on. The Pokemon that just so happens to be this week's Pokemon of the Week.